Avengers Endgame served as the culmination for the MCU's story thus far, giving conclusions and closure to all of the major Avengers characters that we've come to know and love for the past decade or so. But it also set up the next decade of Marvel films, which will begin next year with their Phase 4 slate. The film introduced a bunch of new concepts and characters that we're probably going to be getting introduced to sooner rather than later. Right now, from what we know of Marvel's Phase 4, we're going to get films like Black Widow, The Eternals, Shang-Chi, Guardians Volume 3, Black Panther 2, and more. But there's a bunch of Marvel characters that we haven't seen yet in the MCU that have been teased in the past, one of them being Namor the Sub Mariner. Now, Kevin Feige has talked a lot about Namor over the years, saying that the character is technically somewhat co-owned and usable by Marvel, but there's a lot of interesting tangles to his rights. But something in Avengers Endgame piqued fans' interest and really gave us a sense that Marvel may be hinting that Namor is coming very soon to the MCU. During one of the scenes in the first half of the film, when Black Widow is talking to characters that are now sort of patrolling the Earth and the other galaxy after the decimation event has happened following the 5-year time jump, Okoye, who's defending Wakanda, mentions that there have been earthquakes under the ocean off the coast in the Atlantic Ocean. So that was a pretty big hint and reference at the underwater king of Atlantis, Namor himself. Like I mentioned, Namor has been teased in the MCU films already. Back in Iron Man 2, we actually got a map that showed other characters that Nick Fury was monitoring. One of them being on the map was Wakanda. The other one was a map point in the ocean, actually in the Atlantic Ocean, that many believed was Namor. There's also been some other cool references here and there, like in Captain America the Winter Soldier, the ship that they got was called the Lumerian Star, which are characters from the comic books that Namor goes up against. So it definitely seems like they have been planting seeds to explore Namor and Atlantis for years in the MCU, but Endgame gave us our biggest indication that something is coming very soon. But it still remains to be seen which film could introduce Namor and utilize him the best. Obviously, a lot of fans jumped to Black Panther 2 because Namor and Black Panther have notoriously not gotten along too well in the comics, and fans would love to see a kind of king versus king storyline in which an underwater civilization fought against the kingdom of Wakanda. It would be a pretty epic battle physically, but also one that was kind of a philosophical fight between their two nations. There's also the point that Namor could show up in films like Doctor Strange 2 or The Eternals. Doctor Strange being that Scott Derrickson recently posted an image of Strange and Namor together from the comics, which many fans took as indication that maybe the director was hinting at an appearance in the Doctor Strange sequel, since those two have a long history, especially in the original Defenders comics, but also for the Eternals film, which will likely explore thousands of years in the MCU's past and present, meaning that since Namor is pretty old and Marvel's first mutant in the comics, maybe they could introduce him as an Eternal in the film, or even reference him or Atlantis. But post your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you guys think about this? Did you like the tease and reference to Namor in Avengers Endgame? And which Phase 4 film do you think Namor could be best utilized in? For more updates on Avengers Endgame and everything at Marvel and pop culture, be sure to subscribe to HN Entertainment.